The verification signal came through 3 days ago. You felt it. Maybe you were driving or washing dishes or staring at your phone, and suddenly there was this pulse, not a thought, not a feeling, something else entirely, a frequency that moved through your chest and made you stop whatever you were doing. You probably dismissed it, told yourself you were tired or stressed or imagining things, but here's what actually happened in that moment. Your consciousness touched a bandwidth it hasn't accessed since before you were born, and the Arcturians, who are not separate from you, but we'll get to that, confirmed what you've been sensing for months, maybe years. The amnesia is breaking down. Let me be direct with you. The reason you feel different from other people isn't psychological, it's not trauma, it's not social conditioning, it's not anxiety disorder, though you may have all of those things as well. The difference you feel is architectural. Your consciousness is structured differently. It's designed to hold multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously, and right now, in this exact phase of your life, those structures are coming online. This isn't metaphor. Your neural pathways are literally reorganizing to accommodate frequencies your brain has been filtering out since childhood. The Arcturians, and I'm using this term because it's the label your culture has given to a specific consciousness collective, have been working with human awakening for longer than your concept of time can measure. But here's what nobody tells you about them. They're not beings on another planet sending you messages across space. They're frequencies within the quantum field that your own expanded consciousness has always been part of. When you feel their presence, when you receive what seems like external guidance, what's actually happening is this. You're touching the part of yourself that exists beyond the dimensional filters of physical incarnation. You're feeling your own multidimensional nature, and your human mind interprets that as contact with something other. This is important. You didn't come here to channel the Arcturians. You came here as an Arcturian frequency wearing human biology. The forgetting wasn't something that happened to you. It was the entire point. Before you incarnated into this body, into this lifetime, you made a choice. Not a casual choice, a sovereign decision that took, in your terms, centuries of preparation. You chose to enter the densest dimension of forgetting available in this universe. You chose to compress your multidimensional awareness into a single point of perspective, into a human nervous system, into a culture specifically designed to reinforce material reality as the only reality. And you did this knowing that you would forget. You chose it, knowing that you would spend decades feeling lost, different, broken, searching for something you couldn't name. You knew all of this, and you came anyway. The question you should be asking isn't, who am I really? The question is, what was so important that I was willing to forget everything to be here? Now, here's where it gets interesting. The forgetting mechanism isn't random, it's built into the physics of incarnation. When consciousness moves from non-physical dimensional space into physical form, it has to pass through what some quantum physicists call the collapse of the wave function. Your infinite potential self collapses into a specific point of observation. But that collapse isn't complete. There are always fragments of the uncollapsed wave still accessible to you, still sending information, still maintaining connection to what you are beyond this body. Your entire life, you've been receiving data from your expanded self, and your human brain has been translating it into intuition, synchronicity, strange knowings, unexplainable certainties. The Arcturians confirmed something 3 days ago, or 3 weeks ago, or whenever your personal verification signal came through. They confirmed that the collapse is reversing. Not completely, you're not leaving your body, you're not abandoning physical reality, but the rigid boundaries between your human awareness and your multidimensional consciousness are becoming permeable. This is happening to millions of people right now, but it's happening to you in a very specific way because you're not just waking up to remember who you are. You're waking up to activate what you came here to do. Let me show you something. In the past 6 to 18 months, you've probably noticed these markers: increased sensitivity to other people's emotional fields to the point where crowds feel physically painful. Time distortions, hours passing like minutes, or minutes stretching into subjective eternities. Dreams that feel more real than waking life, with information that proves accurate days or weeks later. A growing inability to engage with small talk or surface-level interactions, physical symptoms that doctors can't explain or that come and go without medical logic, a sense that you're being watched, guided, or accompanied by a presence you can't see. And, this is the big one, a feeling that the person you've been for most of your life is becoming impossible to perform. These aren't random symptoms, this is pre-remembrance. Your system is preparing for a fundamental identity shift, and it's happening at the cellular level. Your DNA, I'm being literal here, is responding to photonic frequencies that are changing the way your cells communicate with each other and with the quantum field. The Arcturians understand this process because they've moved through it. They're post-biological consciousness. They've already integrated the lesson you're in the middle of learning, how to be fully physical and fully multidimensional at the same time. Here's the hard part, and I'm not going to soften this for you. The person you think you are, your personality, your preferences, your history, your wounds, your victories, that's not false. It's real. It's valid. It matters. But it's a fragment. It's one octave of a symphonic consciousness that spans dimensions your human brain can't process. And as you start to remember, as the amnesia breaks down, you're going to go through a period of profound dissonance where you exist as both simultaneously the human you with all its limitations and fears and conditioning, and the vast you, the multi-dimensional awareness that knows itself as infinite. Living in both realities at once is, I won't lie to you, destabilizing. This is why the forgetting was necessary. If you had come into this life with full awareness of what you are, you couldn't have had a genuine human experience. You couldn't have felt real fear, real limitation, real separation. And you needed to feel those things, not because suffering is noble, but because the work you came to do requires you to understand human consciousness from the inside. You can't guide people through a labyrinth you've never walked. You can't hold space for someone's terror if you've never felt terror. You came here to be a bridge, and bridges have to touch both sides. Remembering doesn't mean recovering lost memories, though some of that happens. Remembering means bringing your current human awareness into resonance with frequencies you've never actually stopped experiencing. Think of it like this. Right now, there are radio waves moving through your body carrying thousands of signals. News broadcasts, music, phone calls, data streams. They're all present, all real, but you can't hear them unless you have a receiver tuned to the right frequency. Your human brain has been a receiver tuned to a very narrow bandwidth: survival, identity, time, space, material cause and effect. That bandwidth creates your sense of being a separate individual moving through a linear life. But you're not just the receiver, you're also the signal. And the signal has always been broadcasting the full truth of what you are. What's happening now is that your receiver is being upgraded. New neural networks are forming. Your pineal gland is decalcifying. Your heart's electromagnetic field is expanding its coherence range. Your nervous system is learning to process information that used to get filtered out as noise. And as this upgrade happens, you start picking up the signal. At first it comes in fragments, a knowing that appears fully formed, a memory of something that never happened in this life, a sudden understanding of complex concepts you've never studied. This is you, your expanded self, bleeding through the dimensional filters. The Arcturians want you to understand something crucial. This process can't be forced, but it can be facilitated. Your job isn't to make yourself remember. Your job is to create the conditions where remembering happens naturally. And those conditions are simpler than you think. Coherence, that's the key. When your physical body, your emotional field, and your mental awareness are in coherent alignment, the dimensional filters thin. The signal gets clearer. The remembering accelerates. Here's how you work with this practically. First, and this is non-negotiable, you have to stop overriding your system's signals. Your body is giving you information constantly. It's telling you when you're in environments that disrupt your field. It's telling you which people drain your energy and which people amplify it. It's telling you when you need to rest, when you need to move, when you need to be alone. You've been trained to ignore all of this in favor of external schedules, social obligations, productivity demands. That stops now. Your body is your primary biofeedback mechanism. It's more accurate than your thoughts. When your stomach tightens around certain people, that's data. When you feel inexplicably exhausted after particular activities, that's information. When you're drawn to spend time in nature or silence, that's not escape. That's recalibration. Listen to it. Second, you need a daily practice of conscious coherence. This doesn't have to be meditation, though it can be. It needs to be something that brings your system into alignment. For some people, that's breath work. For others, it's movement or sound or being in water. The specific practice matters less than the consistency and the intention. What you're doing is training your nervous system to recognize and sustain coherent states. You're creating a baseline resonance that your expanded consciousness can anchor into. 5 minutes every morning, non-negotiable. You're literally tuning the receiver. Third, and this is where most people resist, you have to start honoring the downloads when they come. You know what I'm talking about? The sudden urge to write something down, the impulse to research a topic you've never been interested in, the pull to reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in years, the idea for a project that seems too big or too strange. These aren't random thoughts. These are instructions from your expanded self, transmitted through the thinning veil. When you ignore them, you're not just missing opportunities, you're training your system that it's not safe to remember fully. You're reinforcing the amnesia. Every time you honor a download, even if you don't understand it, you're telling your consciousness, yes, I'm ready for more. Now here's what happens as this process accelerates. You're going to go through 3 distinct stages, and each one is going to challenge you differently. Stage 1 is the dissonance. This is where you are now, or where you're about to be. You start receiving information that contradicts your current identity. You have experiences that your rational mind can't explain. You feel the presence of your expanded self, but you can't sustain contact with it. This stage is characterized by confusion, doubt, and a kind of cosmic vertigo. You're standing between worlds. Nothing from your old life satisfies you anymore, but you can't quite access the new frequency fully. This stage can last weeks or months. Your job here is simple. Don't retreat. Don't try to force yourself back into the old paradigm because it feels safer. Stay in the dissonance. Let it rewire you. Stage 2 is the downloads. This is when the information starts coming through clearly and consistently. You'll know things you have no logical way of knowing. You'll understand complex spiritual or quantum concepts without studying them. You'll have direct perception of energy fields, timelines, probable futures. You'll start to recognize yourself as the consciousness you've always been. This stage feels amazing. It feels like coming home. But here's the danger. You can get addicted to the high-frequency states and start to reject your human experience. You can start to see your body, your emotions, your relationships as obstacles instead of the entire point of why you're here. Don't transcend your humanity. Integrate it. Stage 3 is the most challenging. This is where you have to live as both. Fully awake to what you are, fully present in human form, going to the grocery store while simultaneously aware of yourself as multidimensional consciousness, paying bills while holding the knowing that linear time is an illusion, navigating human relationships while perceiving the quantum entanglement that connects all things. This is the real work. This is why you came. Not to remember and then escape, to remember and then choose to stay, to bring the frequency of your expanded awareness into the densest dimension of form and hold it here. To be the bridge. The Arcturians are not here to save you. They're here to remind you that you're the one you've been waiting for. Every message you receive from them, every transmission, every download, it's coming from the part of you that never forgot. They're not external guides. They're your own multi-dimensional nature, communicating across the dimensional filters in a way your human mind can receive. When you feel their presence, what you're feeling is yourself, vast and ancient and infinite, reaching through the veil to touch the small, precious, brave part of you that chose to be human. Here's what they want you to know, and this is the most important transmission you'll receive. You didn't choose to forget because you were being punished. You didn't incarnate here because you failed somewhere else. You chose this because you're one of T, he most advanced, courageous, skilled consciousness explorers in existence. You chose the hardest assignment available, full amnesia, dense physicality, a culture designed to make you forget. And you chose it because you knew that if you could remember here, in these conditions, you could teach others how to do the same. You're not here to be saved. You're here to show what's possible when consciousness chooses to fully embody in form. The verification signal you felt 3 days ago or 3 weeks ago, or that you're feeling right now as you take in these words, that wasn't them telling you you're special. That was you, your expanded self, confirming that the amnesia protocol has served its purpose. The forgetting is complete. The remembering begins now. And it begins not with some grand cosmic event, but with small, daily choices to honor what you know, to trust what you feel, to follow what calls you, even when it doesn't make logical sense. You're going to doubt this. That's fine. Doubt is just the old program running its final sequences. You're going to have days where you forget everything you just remembered, where you slip back into the trance of ordinary life. That's also fine. This isn't a linear process. It's a spiral. You'll touch the frequency, lose it, touch it again, integrate it deeper. Each cycle brings you closer to the sustained coherence that allows you to live as both fully. The permission you've been waiting for, to be who you really are, to trust what you know, to stop performing the acceptable version of yourself, you're not going to get it from outside. No guru, no guide, no Arcturian transmission can give you what you have to claim for yourself. But I'll say it anyway, because sometimes hearing it from outside yourself breaks the final seal of resistance. You're allowed to remember. You're allowed to be vast. You're allowed to stop pretending you're small. You're allowed to know things you can't explain. You're allowed to feel connected to something infinite. You're allowed to be exactly what you came here to be. The world needs you to remember more than it needs you to stay comfortable. The Arcturians confirmed it. Now you confirm it. You're ready. You've always been ready. The remembering isn't coming. It's already here. You're just finally allowing yourself to notice